UPNG school fees to remain at 2017 levels. Managing TFF shortfalls still priority for schools. And man speaks about corrupt NHC officers selling property.
This is National MTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Saturday's news. With the 2018 academic year set for Monday, BSP is making it more convenient for customers, extending its trading hours on Saturday. It started today and will continue for 2 consecutive Saturdays.
Today, BSP opened its business doors, sparing 3 hours for its customers. At the Port Moresby branch, the doors were open since 9 a.m. for collection of cards and personal internet banking access and registration of mobile banking and personal internet banking.
The entirety of us opening these next 3 Saturdays is for customers to have a card in their hand to access their accounts and to be able to process or use their cards to do transactions.
Customers also collected the Visa debit chip cards, which must be activated before next month, February 15.
It is convenient in a way. It's a dedicated day for you to come in, collect your cards, pins, register for mobile banking and internet banking as well.
Customers have been advised on the extension of trading hours from 9 a.m. to 12 noon through platforms of mobile SMS and BSP's Facebook page.
We have sent out SMS text messages to our customers to visit their nearest branch, to collect their cards. We've used social media and on radio as well, and newspaper.
This initiative has been acknowledged by customers, saying it's more convenient for parents paying the children's tuition fees and also for working class people who are busy during weekdays.
Where for us who work during the weeks, it's hard for us to have access to banking service and stuff. So when they open during the weekend, we can do stuff like this and pay school fees on time and access other services as well.
2 more Saturdays are left and customers have been urged to visit the nearest branch nationwide.
This is countrywide for selected branches only, and we're issuing these cards and pins to customers at all these branches that are open for the next 3 Saturdays.
Fabian Hakritz, National MTV News.
Good news for parents of students attending the University of Papua New Guinea. An agreement was reached yesterday between the University Council and the Higher Education Department that the tuition fee structure for this academic year will remain the same as 2017.
The Higher Education Minister today announced that there will be no increase. A decision was reached yesterday after several discussions between both parties when a review on expenditure and costs were made.
We've concluded as of yesterday that fees will remain the same as in 2017. There is no increase this year. So I would like the parents, guardians, and students to know that government has stepped in to assist them, that there's no increase this year.
Niningi also stated other universities must find ways to sustain their own revenue and not to entirely depend on the national government for funding. UPNG has an obligation to help itself too.
So university has to must have its capacity to raise its own money, like other institutions all over the world are doing. So I said, you have to think. And I also told them that the private sector, if you guys don't do it, some of the private sector will be included in the council membership, so that this massive exercise has to be driven on. And we cannot ask for the government all the time. Government has an obligation to assist, but university has an obligation to help itself.
Meanwhile, Dehurst Secretary Father Young Shuba also spoke on the allocation of funds for tickets and scholarships.
The 2.3 was 53% that were not qualified to go anywhere. Out of that, we had 990 students with A. So TESA's highest TESA's. Normally it was 67 or 70 students across the country. For the first time we have 990. So
how much went for tickets alone?
It's around 7.5 million kina.
Are you able to disclose how much went for TESA's?
No, around 75 million. We have to get the confirmation from
Lillian Kinea, National EMTV News.
A day away from the teachers' resumption date, which is next Monday, and teachers around the nation have been given best wishes from one of the top performing schools in the National Capital District, Maryville Secondary School. The school's principal, Monica Kianga, says teaching is a vocation that comes out of love and respect.
I think that, we are teachers and, that's the profession we picked. And commitment to the students, and you just teach them to the best you can. And you just perform your duty, and your code of ethics, you follow it, and, it's the kids we are teaching, and they should be the one benefiting from us. We serve the kids here.
Martinville Secondary School is one of the all-girls educational institutions in Papua New Guinea offering quality education. On Monday, Day 34 teachers will join the rest of the teachers around the country to resume duties.
Ones that are going to come back will be here, and I think they are here. There are a few transferring in. They will be here by the weekend, and we should have about nearly the full staff by Monday to start to resume.
Students' enrollment is expected to almost 800 plus, with classes resuming straight on the 29th this month.
We start straight on the Monday, and it will not be any difference this year. We will start classes if possible on Monday, particularly for the upper grades, the 12 and the 11 and the 10s. Okay. The 9s will be also, but we need to sort them out only. But normally the 10 and the 12, they are continuing students. There is no reason why they cannot begin class on Monday.
Martinville Secondary School will still maintain its no mobile phone policy.
A rule here, no mobile phones, no tablets, no nothing. They are not allowed here. And they face the board if they break that rule.
In the meantime, National Education Secretary Dr. Uki Kombra has called on all teachers to resume duties come Monday. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The national government's tuition fee-free policy still remains a challenge for schools right across the nation. With records of shortfalls and funds not allocated on time, this has placed schools like Maryville Secondary in Port Moresby on the nerve to close the academic year. For most, managing the shortfalls is a great deal.
The national government's TFF policy has been heavily criticized for not meeting the demands of most schools. For Maryville Secondary, managing shortfalls in such a boarding school is a great challenge.
Okay, we got about just a bit over 600,000, I think. Normally we will require, our budget will go over a million. So I've got my budget in here right now. We always, when we look at the TFF funding and the number of students, we should be getting over a million, but we have not been getting that.
The principal says funds should be allocated per the enrollment.
My suggestion is this: if they can be realistic with the number of students and give the amount of money according to the students that are enrolled for that year, it would be good.
And here I had thoughts about the dangers of TFF.
So to me, it has created some problem in the sense that there is overcrowding in the classroom, and we don't have enough, even the teachers are overloaded from there, and it makes the school that you're not teaching to the fullest when you are overloaded with in the sense that.
With the reoccurring shortfalls, Mrs. Kianga says project fee should be charged to sustain operations of schools.
The parents component is a parents component there, and it must be charged. Otherwise, no, we can't survive without the parents supporting us.
Now, for a church agency school like Maryville, where...
Meanwhile, the National Education Minister Nick Kuman says the TFF funds of 60 million kina for the final quarter of 2017 will be rolled out this year.
In the central bank account, it will be quarantined until the school opens.
Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. After the break, an MTV exclusive, the story of properties legally paid for but still lost to foul play. Details after the break. Welcome back. A former tenant has come forward with documents that show the National Housing Corporation's management didn't know how a prime lay property was sold and how the title was issued to the buyer. Despite orders by senior NHC officers to cancel the sale of property, it was still sold. The former tenant also paid a deposit after being given an offer of sale. Since then, he hasn't been able to get a refund.
For security reasons, the former tenant has requested that his identity be kept hidden and that the location of the property not be disclosed at this point. In 2016, he received a letter of offer from the National Housing Corporation in Lae, seeking if he would be interested in buying the property he'd been living in for 11 years.
2016, we go looking more. Samila walking on the renovation again. Bila waktu dari renovation kayaknya no kan kalau kira talking museum the management talking museum don't put hammer and nail on it, you give us an expression of interest yang bila bay lulug langet na bila bay salim sa property lagi because you start long batay finish.
He replied to the offer with a letter of acceptance and paid a check of 10,000 kina to the National Housing Corporation. The NHC recorded the payment and gave him a receipt. But as he waited for the formalities to be completed, a second buyer approached him and told him that he had already in his possession a title to the property.
Management kira nunggu terus la property kata ibin saling finish ko long pla darablaman na kata title finish longan. So all of 2017 we go come long National Housing Corporation even flew down to Mosby long all sample documents belong only been denied head office era NHC head office when them lay office only been denied that's the transaction almost how na that's la new bla tenant that's the title.
According to documents supplied to MTV, the NHC's senior management had no knowledge of the sale. Senior officers were instructed to follow up. The paper trail shows that they discussed the sale of the property after the tenant queried the sale and the issuing of the title.
Me asking all na all to say balik checking on them lands. But me wait go na until money la new black tenant forcing me out.
Later on, it became apparent that proper processes weren't followed. The general manager for properties ordered the cancellation of the sale. He also threatened to report the matter to the fraud squad. But the property was still sold despite the cancellation order.
Me go Mosby na mix sim Islam vermo Mosby. Me fly around the morning and me fly around the 2nd of February 2017. Me fly around me kisim me kam na me show the management lay. To kita looking this lay. There is something wrong here. So office lay ring him office Mosby. All discussing this all talk say me kata man inside. Kita belum main saya long NHC long Mosby, ibu kalau walking malas lawak ya.
Kalau housing commission comes here, only quick time salim sa property.
In 2015, another lay resident, John Bangui, faced a similar situation. He was evicted from this prime property in Lay City. The transaction was done quickly as he worked to purchase the property. The house changed hands twice before being sold to a Lay businessman.
And be rotten to the core. All man will look at the house 1990 Salim or corrupt elements from the South Corporation. Maybe all top will sabetu. Now only hide him and stuff.
Prior to the eviction, John Bangui paid a check of 74,000 kina to the NHC. No receipts were issued. No title was given until he found that the property had been sold.
Now, time only give him the eviction to, only not give him long, say, 24 hours. Only talk every fortnight. Now to sell, what the order you now to say you move out the house.
After years of dealing with the NHC, John Bangui says he has become well versed with how the government agency responsible for housing operates through corrupt elements within the organization. He estimates that at least 40 families who resided or are residing in National Housing Corporation houses or those belonging to the former Department of Civil Aviation have been affected by eviction threats or evictions. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lay.
And we are yet to secure responses from the National Housing Corporation. We will keep you informed of the latest on this and other related evictions. The National Identification Policy and Project has faced many issues since it was first rolled out in 2014. 4 years later, and issues are still being faced with so far only 200,000 plus Papua New Guineans have been registered. Now the NID office is going into pilot projects for rural NID rollouts to find solutions for the best ways forward for registering all Papua New Guineans, even in the most remote areas.
Rural NID rollouts to district is a strategy the National Planning and National Identification Office, with the Minister for National Planning, Richard Maru's district, to lead the way.
Certainly, I'm putting my hands up for Yangon Social District. We want to be one of the first districts to have all our people registered. Obviously, that will include some contribution by the districts. Yep. So I'm looking forward to members of Parliament putting their hands up to partner the National NID Office to look at a district rollout as well.
Minister Maru says rural registration has been one of the issues hindering registration due to how remote an area is and the method the NID office is using to register citizens.
Obviously, our biggest difficulty is to get our rural population registered, especially the moms and dads. Most of them would not even speak English or even in many cases pidgin, so we need to get out there and find a way to get them registered. I know we have some issues in relation to the mobile units. For example, right now we can upload from the village. We are now looking at appointing Noel Mobiha to be the new head of the technical steering committee. And one of the things I want us to do is to have a post-project completion audit and look at all the technical issues, front office, back office issues, and look at the technology we are deploying and how can we get uplinks done from villages so we are able to register and transmit information from villages straight to Port Moresby or to the provincial headquarters.
NID offices have been already set up in 18 provinces, and the NID office is looking to open their offices in the 4 provinces left out this year.
Those provinces that are not yet, as my minister said today, we are rolling that this year, and we should get every provinces hooked up and start saving. The rural districts, we will pilot it, we will roll it through the rural mobile registration rollout, and we should be saving the population. And as Minister announced, we have got 2020 to complete the whole registration, and that will be achieved through this 2 strategy, fixed office and also the mobile registration rollout.
But that is only one office for one province, and some provinces are scarcely populated over a large landmass. Minister Maru says the pilot project will show how much and what will be needed to get the citizens living in the most remote areas registered.
So we really want to get 4 pilots so we understand the issues in terms of cost, use of local people to assist, issues of can we upload the information from a village, can you send the information straight to the data center here in Port Moresby. These are the things we need to trial out, and if we get it to work properly and the hardware and the systems is working, then we can roll it out on a mass scale.
Meanwhile, the call is now for members of parliament to work with the NID office to get the people in their district registered and to assist the office in any way they can.
So be looking at other members of parliament who are interested in getting their districts done, and then we can look at the cost once they ascertain what sort of cost we're talking about and how can the districts actually help. For example, if you want our people to go to the 4 LGs in the district, can they assist us with maybe vehicle, maybe some accommodation in the rural areas, or could they identify people that we can use as agents in the district, so we don't have to bring people from. So these are the issues that him and his team really need to look at. How do we technically make it happen?
Adelaide Sirok's Kari National, EMTV News.
Landowners in Yanguru Sausia district in East Sepik province are expected to get their national identity cards along with their ILG certificate. National Planning Minister and local MP Richard Maru plans on getting more Papua New Guineans in the rural area registered under NID. Meanwhile, Lands Minister Justin Tichenko says the registration will assist the lands departments with planning to make customary land bankable for investments.
Minister for National Planning and member for Yanguru Sausia, Richard Maru, has announced he will have all 8,000 customary landowners of Yanguru Sausia registered under NID, along with them getting their incorporated land group license.
Partner, may I add? We are working with you to get ILGs registered, and all the ILGs must have ID cards from National ID. So we've also dispatched teams. Last week there's a team still in Isipik doing that, and we are registering 8,000 grassroots landowners, 8,000 of them. And when the cards are ready, I'm going to get the Minister for Lands to come with me, because we are issuing them ILGs with the ID cards as well. And this may be the first time where we are mobilizing 8,000 landowners.
Very good.
Issuing them ID cards and giving them titles to their land under ILGs.
Working together with the Lands Department and Minister Justin Tichenko, Minister Tichenko says this will make registration of ILG simpler as the NID information can be used.
The registration of all the customary landowners, and with your program that you've already started to identify all customary landowners in the East Sepik, but also throughout the country as well, and use your example to follow it out to the rest of the country. And that's very, very important. The ID of a customary landowner is huge, and it's very, very important.
With identification and registration, the next issue is making the land bankable for landowners to mortgage or use as assets to get loans to develop the land.
All the bank CEOs together at my office yesterday, from BSP, Westpac, and also from ANZ Bank, and all their risk assessment officers and all their lawyers from their banks. Because one big question is making customary title bankable. At the moment, customary landowners cannot use their land to go to the bank and get a mortgage or a lease or funding, because the banks will not accept customary title. So we called all the banks together to come and work out a way how we can make that work for the banks so they accept customary title and they use it for future development.
Minister Tichenko says 20% of the country's land is currently available for investment and 80% is customary land.
Once we do that over the next couple of months, that will open up 80% of the land in this country for investment and development, because the banks then will accept the customary land title.
Meanwhile, Yanguru Sausia will be the pilot district for the ILG NID rollout, and if successful, will be rolled out to the rest of the country. Adelaide Sirok's Kari National, EMTV News.
The Community Development Department has earmarked that 2018 is their year of implementation. Departmental Head Anna Solomon says the focus will be on preventative approach.
The preventative approach aims to minimize the high number of people in contact with the law. But for this to happen, this will require support from individuals, communities and stakeholders.
How can we get less people going to the hospitals because they are sick? How can we get more people literate so that they are able to read basic prescriptions? They are able to better empower themselves with information, so they're able to look after themselves. So it's more from that approach.
3 main priorities for this year are the APEC Leaders Summit, the Integrated Community Development Policy, and Disability.
We have APEC coming up, as you all know, and the department is in charge of the policy partnership on women and the economy. And so women economic empowerment is a major focus within the department. So focus is on also a project for a number of districts, and it's on the community protection and empowerment centers. If you go into districts, now you will see ability in those different groupings. If we can reach and help our people living with disability, then we're actually leaving no one behind. We're going to make sure everything that we do, our people with disability are also moving with us. If we leave them behind, we are still not achieving our SDGs and the goals and objectives of this country.
The Community Development Department will also try to achieve its 4 main goals spelled out in the corporate plan to improve governance, enhance community livelihood, human rights, and strengthen partnership with churches, non-government organizations, and community-based organizations.
We will work with each of the members to see, to identify land and also to do a community development assessment of what is there on the ground and where we can come in with.
The minister responsible says proper solutions are vital for implementation processes.
No answers. The only way I'm going is, as I said, I need to be open-minded and look at all opportunities and all options that are presented to us and take it on from there. Because there are people out there who live with this and they have the better solution to the answer.
In the meantime, the Community Development Department is looking to strengthening capacity at the provincial and district level and will approach this by deploying staff to this sub-national levels.
The province and district level. So under this arrangement, we'll also be doing redeployment. We will place some of our officers in the districts to help build capacity, to help work with officers at the district until we get many of this work on the ground. So that's the arrangement going forward, but influencing the...
Freeman Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
You're at National EMTV News. Don't go away. We'll have more updates on the situation on Kadava for you after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. The National Education Department will work closely with the ECPIC provincial government to ensure students from Kadava Island exercise their right to education. Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra told EMTV News the department is supporting the decision to relocate students on Kadava Island to the mainland.
From grade 1 to...
In a telephone interview, Dr. Kombra says the department was aware of the situation on Kadava Island affected by surrounding volcanic activities. He says the move is part of the emergency response plan and they will work in close consultation with the ECPIC provincial government and authorities involved in the exercise to ensure students' right to education is not affected.
Good of the students and the parents and the citizens of the island. The school is going to be shut down suspend for a period of time to give time for the disaster team and relief team to make way for the people to the relocation on the mainland, to seek their attention, and if they only alright, let me move beginning on set from the
school when I'm something by me plow can sim lahat. How sick by me plow can sim lahat.
The ECPIC Provincial Education Advisor will be the point of contact to ensure the relocation gives every student the opportunity to access learning and they will have to be accommodated by schools on mainland. The National Education Secretary says that students are in a state of shock and might take time to settle. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
More land is needed to resettle the affected islanders of Kadova, Ruprub and BM. ECP Governor Alan Bird says the current land space cannot house all the islanders. He says a legal understanding is in its drafting process for the acquisition of a bigger portion of land where the state will be the title holder.
Since the eruption of Kadovar and the threat it had on the Highlanders, the East Pacific Provincial Government had only one urgent plan. The islanders must be relocated to the mainland. This has seen 533 men, women and children relocated to Dandan. But speaking yesterday in Port Moresby, Governor Bird says more land is needed. This has also stopped the relocation exercise.
We have temporarily suspended the relocation. We have to sort out some further issues in terms of logistics and the land size that's available for relocating the people. It's quite a substantial number of people who've been moved from their homes, traditional homes, to a faraway place.
The 533 islanders arrived on the mainland last Sunday, and this would be their first week. Temporary shelters have been built with each household supplied with relief. With the amount of donation pouring in, Governor Bird says the relief supply is enough.
We have enough food, water and clothing. There is shelter, temporary shelter of course, but over the course of the next few months we will look to see if we can get permanent accommodations for the people who are affected.
The East Pacific Provincial Government used a funding of 200,000 kina from its PSIP funding, of which 150,000 was used to pay the Dandan land owners. However, Governor Bird says more land is needed if the relocation exercise commences.
What we envisage for the future is that this particular piece of land will remain committed to the island people. So if they decide to go back to the island, they can always come back there. So they end up with a bit of a safety. That's the thinking now. And of course, the state is going to end up owning that block of land.
Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Plans are underway to relocate communities along the Muric Lake in Wewak. ECP Governor Alan Bird says this will happen in the event of tsunami warnings by authorities assessing the volcanic activities on Kadova. But Principal Geodetic Surveyor Steve Saunders says a tsunami will only occur if a bigger explosion occurs.
But the worst case scenario is if there's very big explosions, etc., part of the volcano itself could collapse. You get a massive landslide, and the size of the tsunami will depend on the amount of material that moves into the sea. And basically, material moves into the sea, displaces water, and the water has to go somewhere, and it moves away as a wave. And that has the potential to be quite large. But again, as I say, it's just a potential.
Part of their warning is that we have to start preparing the coastal communities from Kopar. These are the Muric Lakes communities from Kopar to Kaup. They're low-lying. They're basically living on the sand. So we have to start looking at the possibility, just prepare them in case, in the case of a major event on Kadavar that could cause a tsunami.
National Fisheries Authority is the recent government agency to give to the Kadova relief appeal. ECP Governor Alan Bird received the donation of a 20,000 kina cheque at the NFA office in Port Moresby yesterday. Corporate Service Manageress Grace Bayak says NFA is aware of the plight and distress caused by the sudden volcanic eruption.
We are aware of the plight of the Kadawar and the BM Islanders in relocating the people and now trying to settle them in and at least getting them to re-establish and carry on their lives there. So as a little token of our support to this cause, we're making a donation or contribution of 20,000 kina.
But it's good to see that the National Fisheries Authority has recognized the plight of our people, and of course we are extremely grateful for the support. We have had a massive outpouring of support from all over the country. I think even other provincial governments are helping. Corporate sector is helping, individuals, even communities, and of course agencies like yourself. So I think the people on the ground are overwhelmed right now.
You're with Saturday's news. Trukai Sport is up next. I'll be back shortly with the details.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. To netball, 48 netballers, including the current Pepper squad, went through trials today. Of the 48, 30 are new or returning players who are vying to make the cut for the national team. The final listing will be representing Papua New Guinea in April's New Zealand Netball World Championship qualifiers.
After ending 2017 on a high note last year at the 10 Pacific Mini Games in Vanuatu winning gold, the stakes are now higher for the PNG Peppers. Despite not qualifying for the Commonwealth Games, they have gained entry to the World Qualifiers in New Zealand. And with the absence of their dynamic captain Luarikis due to retirement, the netballers at trials today for sure have bigger shoes to fill.
Netball PNG has decided to open up the trials and do an open selection, and we've been pretty impressed with the turnout. We've got 48 girls that have turned up. Four of those 48 are from Australia, based in Australia, and so we're pretty pleased with the outcome so far. This is really to put a strong team together in the next 15 weeks, to put a strong team that can travel to Auckland, New Zealand, and represent PNG at the World Cup qualifiers from the 17th to the 21st of April.
Speaking of the technical aspects, Coach Christina Caswell said vision is a key area of improvement.
Some already are physically strong and they're fit, and they're going to have to be strong and fit. Those two things, that's a necessity. The other thing is they need to have some good vision, so they need to know when is their turn to go for a ball, and if they've gone for a ball and they don't get it, they need to get out of that space. So that's what a lot I'm looking at. It's interesting when I watch that, watching all the players that have come, because there's been like 49 players that have turned up today to trial, and it's interesting for me to watch is that the girls tend to play a lot of ball where they throw it backwards and then they bring it forward. So sometimes they do that without even looking at what's ahead of them, what's available up ahead. So for me, I'm looking at players that have got that vision, because ideally you want the most direct route, get to the goalpost.
Announcement of the successful 20 to 25 will be made in the coming days, and they will undergo at least another 2 months of training before new additions to the Peppers will join the current squad for New Zealand. This will be done with the help of the High Performance Centre. The trials will continue tomorrow as well. Dinero Srako, National EMTV Sports.
Still on netball, 2018 will see PNG netball not only busy with preparations for international gigs, but local programs as well. Federation President Julian Leka Maliaki today spoke to EMTV Sports of what's in store.
Yeah, besides the high performance program, we are going to start rolling out our junior development. I mean, what we've seen today is an indication that the appetite is massive out there, and so we are going to get a little bit more proactive in making sure that we put our development program together, and that's going to roll out this year. We are also going to announce next week a sponsorship support on our capacity building for our coaches and our umpires, and that's a massive program as well, right throughout our membership around the country, and we're going to start building our under-21s for the 2021 World Cup in Suva.
The John Cowper Cup was officially launched today at the Unagi Oval in Port Moresby. The competition is an initiative by Moresby North East MP John Cowper.
North East member and Housing Minister John Cowper came up with the initiative to help youth in his electorate.
So as a member of the electorate, I've seen that has been going on for some decades. So I'm also want to participate and promote our young people so that they can keep busy over the Christmas festival up to New Year, and then continue until such time when our official Port Moresby Rugby League and other sports in the city is on.
The competition will see men take part in rugby league and the women in volleyball.
I've seen that everybody, the youths, everybody, male and female, and they all participate, they mean business. And when I see them, I feel, as a parent, we also feel part of it. So we joined, weekend we do nothing, so we all join the team.
They will play at 2 venues, at the Unagi Oval and 9 Mile. The competition is set to run for 3 weeks, then will go for a 1-week break before the finals.
From 2017 to 2018, so I think in place, so maybe 2018, this coming again starting program again long Easter, April, then September, then normal operation number 1.
Cowper says he hopes the competition can be completed without hiccups.
Yeah, for previous years, I don't know, but for me as a new member of Moresby North East, I want the game to be completed, not fighting and destroying property and supporters fighting here and there. I want to make sure that Bomana complete its game, get a prize, and Unagi complete its game, get a prize. The winner for Bomana, the winner for Unagi will fight for the best, who is the best in Moresby North East club.
Cowper officially kicked off the tournament. Large Levet, National EMTV Sports.
You're watching Trukai Sports. We'll have more after this break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Round 2 of the National Soccer League got underway in Lae, Madang and Port Moresby today. The match here in Port Moresby saw Momase FC take on Besta FC on an overcast day at the Bisini grounds this afternoon.
Today just wasn't Momase FC's day. Despite the strong on-field presence, it was the Besta FC who made sure every attack counted. Besta made their intentions known early, scoring a goal in the opening minutes. Momase replied towards the end of the first half, leveling the score 1-1. And despite attacks from Momase, Besta defended the third well. A miscalculation from Momase defenders saw Besta's Emmanuel Sinogi netting the second goal mid-second half.
Number 7, Emmanuel Sinongi. Official score now is Tanabosan, Vesta United FC 2 goals, leading FC Momase 1.
Efforts by Momase to level the score kept flying over the goal post. It was in the final minute when Besta again scored through Jonathan Allen.
Right, you just witnessing third goal belong Besta United FC by number 16, Jonathan Allen.
Besta were the victors with 3 points to 1. Dinero Strico, National MTV Sports.
And that story ends Trukai Sports for tonight. Up next, the weather details.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Showers in Port Moresby, Alutau and Popondetta, and rain showers with thunderstorms in Daru and Kirima. In the Momase region, showers in Ley and cloudy in Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, light showers in Lorengau, showers in Kavieng, Kimbe, Buka, Kokopo and Rabaul. And in the Highlands region, cloudy periods in all centres.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the news, sports and weather for Saturday, 20th January 2018. On behalf of the entire MTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.